And then I got the chat going on. I'm waiting for the audio. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this to pop up, and we are almost live. I gotta mute this thing before it starts playing again. Yes. You guys, it is 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. It's time, and it's a Wednesday. It's the 4th Wednesday of the month of June, and we are live. It is episode 32, and I cannot wait to introduce you to my awesome, badass guest. But before we do that, we will roll the intro, shall we? Yeah. Okay, I think we hopefully made that smooth, except for the fact that I saw that I put the wrong episode number on the YouTube video description, so I will have to change that. But thank you guys so much for being here. This is episode number 32, and we are going to be talking about this awesome theme of advocating for happiness. Obviously, a show with the word cheerful in the title cannot be talking about anything else that's not happy, but I have one of my favorite people on the show with me today. We are going to bring you a bunch of laughs, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of seriousness, but in all of this, we're going to talk about why happiness isn't so important. We're going to just spread all this crazy energy. So, Brooklyn, thank you so much for being here. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this conversation today. And as I'm kind of clearing up my screen and trying to clean up the mess that I just made, trying to run that intro as smoothly as possible, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Fantastic. Well, hello, everybody out there in YouTube land and cheerful people, my cheerful tribe. My name is Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn from Seattle, Washington, and I am a Chief Happiness Officer. And what I do is I spend my days trying to figure out how to be happy. I study happiness. I talk to people about happiness and how to cultivate more of it, which we'll talk about today. But yeah, I just spend my time in sunny Seattle, sunny Seattle in the summer. That's about it. The rest of the time it rains, but we just say that so people don't get out here. That's a secret. Now I'm letting everybody know. But yeah, no, I basically have been a coach and a helper of people for a very long time, and just love this place of helping people just improve their lives, the quality of their lives in some way, shape, or form.
Yay. And the crazy thing, so I'm actually going to Seattle in about a month from now, and she's not going to be there. I was like, we actually, how long ago did we meet? Would it be like a year ago at this point?
I think so. I think it's been quite a while. And yeah, across our lives, sort of paths have crossed quite a bit. And about a year ago, and I was like, who is this girl? This is definitely a sister from another mister, but not really that far, because, you know, we have Latino culture in ourselves. I'm Puerto Rican. You're what? Filipino,
yeah.
Filipino, and I love your people love my people, and we're all sort of blended, and it's super fun. So yeah, about a year ago, I'd say.
Yeah. I remember, I was trying to look back at the timeline, and this was a few weeks ago, so now it's like out of my brain. But there was the email that I got from you, like, what? I saw this, I think it was like the IPEC video, because we're both IPEC coaches, and she's like, I had to talk to you. And I was like, man, I look so every time people find that video, I'm like, I look so gross in that video. I don't even remember.
But you know what? But it speaks to the power of putting yourself out there. And I know that when I was, I think I was doing this, I forget how I exactly even landed on it. But I was shocked that there was somebody else that kind of have similar ideas and ideology and went to IPEC, right, at one of the best coaching schools in the world. And then also, then I went to your website. I'm like, oh, this girl is like, she's set up. She knows what she's doing. I need to engage and have a conversation with this little lady. And sure enough, you're like, oh, girl, how'd you find me? I'm like, girl, this video. And you're like, oh, I look terrible, but now you look amazing. See, we always think about our perceptions of how we look to people, but you look great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and it was, I think I was sick. I had just cut my hair, and I think there's this thing about me that maybe I never really even realized it until recently, that like I usually when I'm going through a tough transition, I cut my hair because I do like my hair better longer. This is probably the longest it's ever been. And before I went down this whole path of like leaving my former job and all of that stuff, like I had really really long hair, but then because of all my health
Yeah.
issues and my hair being a mess, I had to chop it to like just make it look like not ratty. But I'm like, this is kind of like when my hair is staying long, then you at least know that things are going well in my life.
Well, you know, and I
Probably bad, right? Like I'm gonna have to the next time I cut my hair be like, I swear I'm doing okay. Or maybe, yeah, maybe I will.
I think this is interesting correlation between, this is definitely a TED Talk, like in the making right now. It is a correlation, and I don't know if men do this, but women, the minute there's a major change in life, hair. We're gonna cut it off, we're gonna color it, we're gonna dye, we're gonna do something. Hair is like the big deal. And it's, changing it, coloring it, cutting it. Typically it is cutting it. And then I think with relationships is like if you break up, you like chop it off, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, I'm gonna cut it really short, I'm gonna go, sexy pixie, whatever, and then change of job, change of whatever. Got rid of some kids, change, color, change the color. So it's like I think there's an interesting correlation between the two.
Yeah, the science of women hair. It's like, yeah, I mean, this year in January, I put some purple in my hair, which you can't see in this lighting, but in the sun, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
This is almost kind of good because it's got this contrast. Because a lot of people will like lean into me and be like, "Is there purple?"
I would lean in.
Like that exactly. Like right in the like. Is that purple in your hair? I really like it. And I'm like, thank you. But when I'm in the sun, it's like, boom, what the heck is she doing to her hair? So it's kind of like very subtle, but very loud in the sun where it brings all the happiness and cheerfulness. So it is kind of cool to do that. But yes, I feel like, yeah, there's going to be like the science, the psychology of women's hair. And definitely, I think about the last 2 times I cut my hair. One was when I last quit my job. That was 2015. And then I did it again at the end of 2016 after I had like a triggering event in my business with my former coach and all that stuff. It was just kind of like, I cut my hair again. But
yeah,
I've been good since then. So my hair is boobling. So awesome. Thank you so much for telling everybody what you do. And we already talked about what we met. Or how we met. I ask everybody this, all of my co-hosts, what is one thing you geek out on? And people have kind of taken this question to however they want to interpret it. Some people are like, this is something that you wouldn't expect I would totally love. Or here's a fun fact about me. So what would you like to share with our audience on what you geek out on? That's not work related.
Yeah, and that was a tricky part because anybody who knows me, to me, work is not work and play is sort of blended, and and I think that because I'm, people consider me to be extroverted and always on, if you will, that's actually the thing. But what I actually geek out is doing either nothing or just kind of getting lost in thought. And oftentimes what happens for me too is that I will think about or engage in thinking about things that I hadn't thought about before, or things that interest me. So in the last, I want to say couple of years, just like uber obsessed with hotels. The experience, and just because I want to experience what it is to feel good, if you have a little bit extra cash and spend it on a really great room, or additional, upgrade your room, whatever, just experiencing the life. I think what I geek out is just experiencing life a little bit better. If I go to a show, if I'm going to go to a concert, finding the best seats. It's not so much like, I want to pay a lot for these seats, but I want to experience a little bit life in a little bit of a different way, even if it's a little bit of it, right? It's not like every time I go to a hotel, I have to say the best thing, but if I have an opportunity, because I want to experience it. So I guess what I geek out is on experiencing life, in little moments, little pockets that I'm like, oh, this is phenomenal, right? You go to, you've been eating well, and all of a sudden you go to a restaurant and you go, what, I am going to have that. Oh, it just seems amazing. I'm just going to have it. I'm like, that moment, this is my moment. I think the other thing, again, it's sort of learning related. I always want to learn something new every day. I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't know what genre, what area of my life, I want to learn something new, and it's kind of fun, no matter where it comes from, for sure. And as you know, comedy, so finding good shows to go to, I just keep kind of having fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I know that you have done stand up, or do you do it regularly still, or yes or
No,
no?
I don't do it regularly anymore. I did it back, I know, like a decade ago, and I now do it when I speak and I do speaking engagements. I will definitely the comedian will come out in me whether I like it or not. If I do storytelling shows, the comedian will come out. She's a little nutty, so she'll come out eventually for sure.
Yeah. I like watched something that was on either on YouTube or like just something that I Googled. I'm like, does she have anything out there? Because I am so terrified to ever try stand up, but I think I'm going to take a class just because I feel like
Oh
it'll
yeah.
be fun
Oh, absolutely.
and scary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is scary for a lot of people because it's getting in front of people, and typically drunk people, which is why I'm like, this is dumb. And doing it. I think that what happens is that it's just you. It's just you on stage. And it's you expressing parts of your life and sharing it with a bunch of strangers, and hopefully they laugh at you. I mean, think about it. Who literally I'm going to put myself in front of a room of strangers for people to laugh at me, or to
Yeah.
laugh at my experience, and to laugh at whatever I have to say. And so, which is what the opposite of what anybody wants to do. Plus, it's also public speaking. And so people getting in front of an audience, it is, death defying for a lot of people. So that's super scary. But it's also, what I want to talk about. What about if I'm not funny, right? And all these self-doubt and all the stuff that happens. But for the people who really kind of push through that, I remember when I first got on stage, I knew right away when I first got on stage, I'm like, this is what's up. Like a stage at Mike Light me, just, yeah, let's go. It's not a no-brainer. I think you'd be the same. I think you'd get up there and just naturally get into the flow
Yeah.
of storytelling and being funny.
Yeah. I just booked an MC gig in September, and I was like, this I can do because I don't care. I like being on stage and I like speaking, but I hate the preparation
Yeah.
of doing a talk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I just have to, if I don't have to do any of that and I just have to like observe what's happening and kind of, use my energy and just be myself and introduce people, like
Yes.
that seems fun. Like I'm like, this
That's
is really
That's actually what you can do. And in fact, I'm just going to cut the chase and tell you, first of all, if you comedy is cool. I would say take an improv class. If you haven't already, I advise this to everybody, because the moment I took an improv class, it absolutely revolutionized my life. And it really was the exact thing I needed, because it allowed me to bridge both things of my passion, which is, I want to be funny, entertaining, but then how to think in the moment and really be funny in the moment instantaneously. And it really changed my life in that way. But yeah, as an MC, really what it comes down to is have stories that you have thought about, crafted, and maybe told before. And in between, segments, you can tell, quick little story or about something, and be, it doesn't have to be funny, but I think your power of observation is really good, and you can pull in from various things that are happening in the moment and really use it, on stage. And so improv, I think you'd be phenomenal at that.
Yeah. So and I think that improv has definitely helped me as well. I keep on telling people that that's like the thing that has changed my level of perfectionism. I mean, the reason this show is live and the reason, is because I'm going to make mistakes, and I can sit here and get stuck in oh my God, I need to start this video exactly at this moment. But the reality of that is that takes a lot of time and it's just not as fun. And so I think people also like to see me fail because it's funny. And so it's like, hey, let's just keep this experience live. You're going to see the way that I naturally converse. Nothing is scripted. We've got some talking points, but that's kind of it. We've got a structure, but other than that, we don't even, half the time, I don't even know where the conversation is going to go, especially today's. So, but anyways, that's awesome. Yes, I love all of that. And then before we share our cheerful news segments, I ask everybody a question from this hefty dandy box, my vulnerability is sexy box. And so, Brooklyn, I have 3 different categories.
Okay.
One is break the ice. So it's just, like a good question to ponder and share. There's the get vulnerable card, which goes a little bit deeper. And I think some of them are not, I'm like scared to pull like the sad ones, but it gets a little bit more vulnerable. And then there's laugh a little. So which one would you like? We don't know what the question is until I pull it out.
Okay, wait, tell me, give me the
icebreaker, more vulnerable, or or laugh a little.
Let's go with laugh a little.
Okay. All right. Sometimes it's like do a something or a question. Like that's really funny.
I love it. I mean, are you getting asked me the question?
It's not a question. Okay. Here it says quietly break into a big smile and see whether anyone joins you. You're like, you were asking me a question.
I'm like, is this working? Is this thing on?
Let's do another one, just because I was like, I just started trying to smile and see how you were gonna react. But you're like, what? Okay, let's try another one. Yeah. So I don't even know what's on some of these cards. Okay. Oh, this will be a good one. This is good for us. Tell your favorite childhood joke. I feel like I have to think about this for a second.
My favorite.
I don't even.
My favorite. I'm trying to think of dad jokes right now, and I had some good ones, and they didn't even come to my mind. From my childhood, they didn't even have a childhood.
I should call my kids downstairs and tell them to tell a joke. They would freeze.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Childhood, man. It was a joke, really. The whole thing. Yeah, we didn't tell jokes. Oh yeah, well, okay. So it wasn't really a joke. It was more, it's more that I would try. I was always trying to find ways to make people laugh, and I'm early in my as a kid. I don't know. I say early. I don't know. Between the ages of this and that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could imitate announcers, and I could imitate like Latino announcers. And if you ever listen to Latino announcers, and I'm Puerto Rican, so I was born in Puerto Rico, and I would ask my mom, why is it that Spanish Latinos, we'll be talking in Spanish and then say the word in English perfectly, right? It would be like the announcer would be like, ahora mismo ustedes pueden entrar a una competición en American Airlines. And I'm like, why is it so perfect? And she would laugh because she's like, yeah, I don't know. Hoy en día ustedes pueden tener un increíble blah, blah, en Geico. Like what? It wouldn't matter. It's or then I would say, Mom, why is it that the people have to say the phone number to something 3 times and like so aggressive, like like blah 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 4477 777 4447 777 like I got it 4447, like that's enough. But yeah, it's not so much I used to tell jokes. It was just that I was like a young comedian. I was just making observations.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how it starts, right?
But I will tell you, there was a joke that my uncle. I remember my uncle was hilarious. I think he was one of my first influences. And we were in the car one day, and he's like, he goes, "Wow." He goes, "I wish we were just driving," and he's like, "I wish it was one of those poles." And I'm like the street lamps. And he goes, "I wish it was one of the street lamps." I'm like, "Well, why?" He goes, "Look how fast they're going." It's amazing. That was just a childhood joke. That was a joke that happened because you have to explain it. It's no fun anymore. But look how fast they go. Anyway.
Yeah. I feel like I can't even. I don't know why I can't think of anything from my childhood, but because I have kids and they are telling me riddles and jokes all day long. The first one that came to my mind, and it's kind of I shouldn't even set it up because then I'm just gonna ruin it, right? So it's like knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Right? Like
that's perfect.
Yeah. That's perfect. So I don't know. And it might have been my niece that or something like that did that, and I was like, I knew what was coming, but I was like, interrupt. They just like interrupt me. I'm like, yep. I knew that was coming. But okay, that was fun. It should be interesting. I don't want to. I've not looked at these cards, and I know that some of them are action oriented. These laugh things.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I'm just
come up.
Pull it, and I'm like, okay.
I love it. And just so you know, because of things, how quirky things happen in the world, my battery's gonna die. you know, in about I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so, which we have more time, 20 minutes really. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it from my phone, which is how we do things. We're just going to improvise this all the way. So
yes, okay. I'll have to think of like what I'm gonna do while you're transitioning over.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna, you know, I might transition even sooner so that we're there, but
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we'll do it, and I'll tell some jokes or something while she's doing that. Okay, so we'll go into our theme in just a minute. We have one more thing to do, but cheerful news. So this is funny because I know that we were supposed to do our show about a month ago, and some things came up, and that was fine. But I, had prepped the show, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna show up today. I'm like, oh, I gotta find a cheerful news story. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
no, you go first. Go for it.
Okay. So I literally just Googled this today, but so one of the stories that I found, and sometimes I don't even know where these resources are, but hey, whether it's true or not, it still makes me happy. So you know how they have those, they started those things where they've like little cubbies that they put in like parks, or like it's like a little mini library where they have books where people, you can like leave one and take one.
Yeah.
So this one article I found talks about how like they're building like miniature pantries, so like you can put like food in there. So it's similar to that library idea, but it's food. I guess you don't want to put food that was already eaten, but it's like people can take what they need, or and then you can share if you have extra stuff. The only thing that I would be concerned about is like, is this stuff that's that's expiring or whatnot. So hopefully that's not what people are doing, but it's just kind of cool that they're taking that that idea and taking it to the next level. And I wonder, like, part of me when I was reading this was thinking, what other things can we do where we create these tiny little hubs for people to share stuff, like I would maybe do one with like inspirational messages. You write an inspirational message and you put it in an envelope and you put it in a, or like some way to connect, and like put it in an envelope, just put a quote or something inspirational in there, and then take one for yourself to just like boost your ego. I feel like that's something that would be fun to do, because then it allows people to connect or something. I don't know.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's my story. Nothing really crazy with the little amount of time I had.
I love it. Well, my cheerful news is not really from the news. It's just news of things that happen around me.
Yeah, that's great.
And all right, so hang on a second. The other day I actually decided I was traveling on the bus, and this gentleman who's homeless. We have a lot of homeless folks around our area, which now they have luggage. It's not really good, but they have luggage. They actually walk around with luggage. And this guy got down and he was trying to ask the bus driver,
oh, I'm all by myself. So while we're waiting, what can I tell you about my life? Like, should I try some of my, and I better just keep an eye out because I'm going to have to let her back in. But, so she was talking about people on the bus, and I am totally making up stuff right now. I actually want to kind of sit. Oh, James, I see you. I've set up this thing so that I can watch the chat. Oh, there she's coming back. So that I can actually see the chat, and I'm gonna bring Brooklyn back on in just a second. All right, she's on her way. But yes, I've got James saying hello. You are so welcome for all the happiness. We're trying to get her online again. Oh, gallery view. She's not on video yet, so we'll just wait. But yeah, so it's been very interesting to see that she is back.
we got this, kids.
That's improvisation right there. I'm like, let's go to the comments. This is I should have like sang a song or something.
I love it.
Never prepared, but welcome back to the show.
Thank you. You can see me well, yes?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so you were saying you were talking about the
So basically there was a situation and the gentleman was looking for a particular address, and he's asking all these questions, and
nobody can help him. And then finally, I'm like, dude, if we can just Google it, I think we can find where this guy's going and try to help him and so on. So we had this whole dialogue. And I guess my point is that you just never know. At first I thought this guy was making it up. He just wanted to get on the bus and whatever. I don't know what was going on. And I thought, but here's the metaphor of, all these people on a bus. They're all going the same direction, but everybody has different lives, different situations in their life. And the point is that at the end, we actually got him to go where he was going, give him better direction, what bus to get on, what to do next, etc. And to a place that I actually never been to this particular city. So I'm like, I don't know. I think I just Googled it, and he goes, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your help. And here I am, like, it's just, you just never know when you could be of service. And I think when nobody steps up and does something, and in your mind you're thinking, well, what can I do? That's the moment to take action. And I don't always take action, and I think that's something I definitely want to do more. But yeah, it was absolutely made my day. And personally, just because I'm like, wow, how little we need to do to really help someone else is really, really powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, look at you making your own cheerful news. Like, that's a first on this show. Like, I love it. I love it. I should have that be a challenge of like, what is the positivity that you put in the world? Because that is news. That is important.
Yeah.
You don't have to just sit and watch everybody create something new and exciting. You can do that,
Totally.
And hopefully in the near future, I'll have some cheerful news of my own, of stuff that I've created, but we will, I'm not ready yet. So coming soon to a Cheerful Conversations episode near you. So awesome. Well, shall we talk about happiness and all of the things that we geek out about in our work and everything in terms of cheerfulness, happiness, whatever. Like, we are probably two of the biggest advocates out there for happiness. And, there were certain, different ways that I wanted to kind of tackle this topic. One of the reasons why I thought of that theme and thought it was good for us to discuss, because we care so much about happiness, is, I notice a lot that people get triggered by the idea that my business is called the Cheerful Mind. I know that has nothing to do with me, but it's really interesting how people who emit too much happiness or too much energy can be seen as this, like, whoa, like, that's a little bit extreme, and is that even really real? And so I wanted to just kind of even start the conversation with, like, do you ever get that? I mean, the way that you are positioning yourself for your business, like the chief happiness officer, like what types of reactions do you get from people?
Actually, the interesting thing is that the reaction and response is usually pretty positive. In fact, I get people who say, wow, that sounds so much fun. Like, what is that? And essentially when I was thinking about, hey, what can I call myself? What's a title that I can give myself? I think we're so tied to titles and what that means. And I Googled something, and there was somebody who, first I looked for I thought of the name, how about Chief Happiness Officer? Because I talk to companies a lot around, happiness in the workplace and how to create happiness. And I also talk to people how to create happiness in their work life, in their business life. I thought, well, it could be something they can kind of capture that. And I looked for the URL. It was taken. And I was like, oh, like, who took this? Like who is this? And so I looked for that URL, and I looked for also, there was an article about Google. And I think somebody at Google had, that was his title, was Chief Happiness Officer. I'm like, that is amazing. And so I notice how it triggered me and what I thought about it. And the fact that happiness seems to be a really big deal lately, which I hadn't even at the time, like now a couple of years ago, I didn't really realize how much happiness was like a huge topic to people. Yeah. And typically the response is positive, but they also want to know, so what is that? Like, what do you do? It sounds like so much fun because you have the word happiness. And I think that creates an interesting dynamic. I haven't had people, have like a visceral response, just what does that mean? And also, like, what do you do? Like, what is that a real title? And the funny thing is that people oftentimes think that I'm like that's a position, but I'm like, well, if you think of it kind of high level, it is a position, I guess, a philosophical position. But I think ultimately the word happiness, I was looking for a word that also would resonate with people and cheerfulness already, right? Like if I say the word, lemon, you instantly, like your mouth may start to have a certain reaction to it. So I'm like, you start, maybe you amongst lots of water and what you visualize a lemon, you want lemonade. I'm saying lemon now, so I'm sure you're thinking about a lemon. Yeah. So it depends on what the word, how it resonates for me. And that's what I was looking for, was for a word that for me felt like it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think the reason that I chose cheerful in the span of the happy is just because I was a cheerleader in college, and, you know, different from, I mean, it's just not the typical happiness that you hear, which, you know, I'm all about that. But I think people just expect that I'm this person who's like smiling and happy all the time, when that's not really true. I just cried yesterday, you know, it's like different, you know. I think there have been people who have, you know, been referred to me and they're like, I was kind of hesitant, you know, to be honest, because like you know, I like listened to that and I was like, oh, is she gonna be this like, it's all sunshine and rainbows, you know? And I do get in those spaces where my energy is like, let's do this, or, you know, like I was just in New York last week and I was like, oh, this is the best show I've ever seen, you know, and it could maybe be obnoxious to some people, but I'm not like that all the time. And so it's just very interesting how people have this idea that like happiness means you're happy all the time, or, you know, they're like, happiness, okay, but it doesn't always come with this sense of seriousness sometimes, because it's like, okay, well, what about just get, you know, like, you know, when you have that, like, how do you even work toward that? You know, it's like it's not as tangible as like, let's make you money or let's do this, but it's something that everybody craves, which is just why I'm like just baffled by the fact that the difference between like what we want and like what we actually do, like, is so different, you know? Why can't we meld the two together, you know?
Yeah, I think it could also be a lot of misconceptions. So ultimately for me, and what really got me interested in studying happiness, and to be honest, it was actually a shift in words again. I used to, as a comedian, I was trying to figure out ways to really level up my business and go from just doing stand-up or shows and whatever to actually, because I had a passion for teaching people and helping people transform their lives. And I remember one day I had taken improv and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get on stage and actually have no jokes. Like even if I had jokes, I really had no jokes, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not going to have any jokes. I'm just going to show up and I'm going to start playing with the audience and see where it happens and kind of go unscripted. And it was an absolutely, again, life-changing moment. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. I wonder what else I could do with this. And I started thinking about teaching and training and working with organizations. And I thought, okay, cool. I'm gonna teach them how to use humor in the workplace. Humor had a visceral reaction. So clients that I would usually try to talk to, like HR people, they were like, well, we want to have fun. We like to laugh, but they're concerned with the humor part. Like there's this fine line.
Yeah.
And so I used it for quite a while. And once they experienced the workshop, like, oh, this is amazing. This is a great workshop, whatever. I thought, I wonder what would happen if I changed the word humor in the workplace to happiness in the workplace. And instantly it was a change in reaction from people. I thought, okay, this is interesting. It's just how people respond to the word. Got it. But also it's what triggers people around particular words. But in any case, the moment I started to really study, not just humor, because I studied humor in the workplace, or just humor in general, I started studying happiness, and it was a different conversation. And it was about understanding the fact that happiness is not outside of you, it's really inside of you. The external things that we want, the external things like, oh, I want to be happy. In other words, before, most people want to get something and think that's going to make them happy. And that is a bit of happiness there. So, you know, hey, you got a new car, you got a new job, you got a new house, whatever. That's happiness, but it's momentarily, right? So you live through it in the moment. It doesn't last very long. Yeah. What does last longer is when you learn to cultivate internal happiness and happiness for what is, which is really has to do with gratitude. It has to do with resiliency. So there's a lot of other topics that go around. How do I personally feel happy? Because there's moments when you're not happy. And I'm one of those people where I'll wake up on a certain day and I'm just not feeling it. Like today, I'm about to shave an eyebrow. You know what I mean? I'm about to go walk, right? And I'm like, all right. But then as a comedian, one of the things we do, which is kind of the intersection, is that as a comedian, you learn to look at things that are happening that are not so happy and figure out what's funny about it, what's interesting about it. How can I look at this from a different perspective? And that began to change my mind around or transform my thinking around all right, the same thing with happiness is like, well, you're not going to be cheerful and happy all the time. It's not humanly possible. But how can I become resilient in the moment when stuff is not working well, or I've been let down or disappointed, and in some cases even have sense of slight depression, or like I'm just not happy, I have hormones everywhere, so what the heck, is how can I find my resiliency within? And that really is where I look at happiness from that perspective, because it's not really external, it's not something outside of you, but rather inside of you.
Yeah. I really love the correlation that you just made between just like the finding humor in kind of the stuff that is a little bit painful on the comedy side of things, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's a similar framework for happiness. It's just a different conversation, because one of the things that I had written down, just as somebody who has done stand up, a lot of times, and especially in comedy, you see people making jokes about things that are more unfortunate. And I
Mm-hmm.
always hear, even from some of, my friends who are comedians, it's like the people who are the funniest are the people who like maybe suffer the most pain, because
Yeah. Yep.
they are willing to just go there and say the thing that nobody else wants to say, but you need to almost feel that pain so much that you're willing to just step outside of it and be like, but haha, let's make this into something that people can laugh about.
Yeah.
But then I'm always thinking, and I was discussing this with another Drew Tarvin, who did a TEDx about the skill of humor. We met last week, and I was like, it is really interesting when you're somebody who is like, you like personal development, you care about happiness and humor in the workplace and all of that stuff, but it's a different conversation that you have like in front of companies based on like what you say in a stand-up set, right? It's a little bit more like triggering in stand-up. But I think it's, and so I was always just curious, like, is there anyone out there that is actually coming at like stand-up comedy with like a positive spin and can have the same effect as somebody who, because it's like, I know that conflict can sell, and conflict like does, help in some cases, but it's also like the anti happiness angle, right? Like, I don't think that you could ever like, you have to be in this like negative space to be able to like deliver the conflict. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely, in fact, that's one of the reasons why I actually had a big problem with the it's not comedy, but the process. It was very lonely. You do a lot of thinking and writing and about your own stuff, but you actually have to sometimes look at, not sometimes, you look at things that are happening in your life that are not so fun and happy. And actually, the way you're trained, classically in comedy, and I say classically like we're freaking artists, but anyway, like you have to go to, what's the school in New York, the music school, I forget. Anyway, it'll come to me later. But the point is that when you're learning to be a comedian, as you're coming up, and you learn to look at your own pain and your own challenges, and think about, okay, what about this do people resonate with? But also, what's my point of view? What I really think about this.
Mm-hmm.
The comedians are really, really good. And I say good, they're talented and they're gifted and they keep at it, are people who are speaking the truth. And when you look at it, it's not even a joke. They're saying the truth. There's a comedian, which unfortunately I can't name who it is now because it's unfortunate, but he had a great point around like eating, for example. He says, I don't finish eating when I'm full. I finish eating when I hate myself. Mm-hmm. Okay, I hate myself. I'm going to stop eating now. And that observation, it's actually what people go through, right? Like when you're thinking, I can still eat a bit more, and then you eat a little bit more, and you're like, oh, I'm so full, I just hate myself, right? And it's like, why do we do that to ourselves? And so the examination of life is what a true artist will do, is examine life from all different angles and find the truth about it, and then talk about it, where people and have the way they say their point of view is different than someone else, and it makes it funny. People who I would say Seinfeld and Ellen D, and like one of the Sykes. These are people who will take a topic and they don't have to, their point of view is just their point of view. And on the positive side, I think mostly the first one that comes to mind is really Ellen. There's other people who are really in that space of being positive, but I think ultimately what comedy is about being able to look at the truth from your point of view, and deliver it in such a humorous way that people go, man, that is so true. That is my life, that I experienced that. So but
yeah. So, I mean, it's so interesting, but like I always think about like, okay, the thought of doing stand up absolutely scares me, but I feel like I'm going to do it just because of the scare factor, but I also don't know what what I would talk about, because I would have to go back into some of these things that like I just think are absolutely ridiculous, like some of the conversations I had with my mom, who I absolutely adore, but it's just like, what did you just say? And but I also like would never want her to see that, because she'd probably hate me after that and be like, no.
It's true. I mean, I know that we're going to go on this path of speaking of, on comedy itself, but I will say that for people who are watching this or interested or whatever, ultimately what it comes down to, and I would tell this to people all the time, is find the things that really bother you, upset you. But again, this is why comedy is like, oh, it's all right, but you have to go to that place, because that's really where the humor comes in. Humor, like I think Lucille Ball, or one of these really amazing artists, said, basically comedy is tragedy over time. So something is happening in the moment that's going to be funny, but when you look back in your life, you go, like relationships. And I always say there's 3 areas, usually like family, relationships, and like the finances and how you go about your job. And find things that really, really bother you. And don't even try to be funny. You just, one of the things that really bugged me about, whatever family relationships, or, parents, right? Or what is the thing that frustrates me, bothers me, gets under my skin. It really bothers me. And you got to make a list of that. And then the next question is, well, what about it bothers you? What is it about it that bothers you? What does it do? And then just go literally record yourself on on your phone, not visually, but just like audio recording, and just rant and go off. The funny is not so much in the beginning of the topic. The funny happens when the more you talk, the deeper you go into it. You mentioned your mom. I mean, we all have, most of us have mothers. People don't act like they do, but we all have mothers. We all have experiences. And so what is it about that relationship that is universal? And that's what when you're mining for a joke, you're mining for the funny, you're mining for what's universal about the situation that people can relate to. So, and find it that way. But in that process, what you're doing is developing your critical thinking skills. And this is what comedy is not really about being funny to begin with. It's thinking about life and thinking about your point of view in a way that is interesting, is unique. And then eventually when you chisel it down and you go, okay, what am I going to talk about? Your freaking life. You have a lot that happens. Girl, you have kids.
Yeah.
That alone, Lord.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that alone, because it's like Ali Wong is doing a phenomenal job at capitalizing on, this whole, you being a mom, right? And having kids and being married, and what does that feel like and look like and whatever. And her experiences. And on stage and when she's on freaking Netflix, it looks amazing. I can do that. I can talk about my kids all day.
Yeah.
But it took her a minute to get to the golden nugget of the realization of her point of view.
Yeah.
And she has a very strong point of view, and the more you listen to her, the more you realize what her point of view is.
Yeah.
And it takes time to develop, but it's super fun.
Yeah. Ugh, it's crazy. So, and it's interesting. Like, I wonder, so if we translate this conversation about comedy, which like, I know that we're just going to naturally go there because both of us love that stuff. But when we take it to the happiness equation, right? Like, from a coaching standpoint, a lot of times, we always talk about how you kind of need to vision like where you want to be, and you have to be open to the change first, right? So if you're trying to be more happy or you want happiness, you kind of need to like define what that is for you. But then I think that there is that same piece that is mirrored in what you're doing if you're writing like a comedic bit or whatever, but like understanding that present state of what doesn't work, what do you not like about it, but then being in that problem solving mode of trying to make that change, right? And I know and sometimes people are like, happiness to somebody could be like, I just don't want to cry every day, even though I think crying is like actually a really great way to another great practice to like help like keep the happiness in a more stable place. Like I think it's great to express your emotions as part of that.
And here's the thing, right? because you just said something actually really, really critical, is this whole sense of understanding where you are in the moment and what you're happy about. And again, I think it's just the understanding the definition of happiness, and happiness for different people means different things. But I think it comes back to resiliency. So in the moment, by the way, your brain can't handle two opposing emotions. It's going to go with one at a time, even though it feels like you're all over the place. It's one at a time.
Yeah.
And in the moment of that tearful moment, and you're crying, you're in this place, it doesn't have to be dark. It could be freaking anywhere. But you're in this place of that your energy is being expressed through tears, and it has to come through somehow. Mm-hmm. And tears are phenomenal. They're the body's ways of releasing the tension and the stress of something. It's important. But in that moment when you're sad or frustrated and you think about, wow, what is it about this moment that is really releasing something for me? What is it about this moment that I'm able to transcend through? What is it about this moment that I'm actually thankful for? Mm-hmm. And that's the moment when that sadness begins to dissipate, or that moment you begin to transcend it, because you think about, what am I grateful for right now? Yes, this is terrible. This is whatever. I get it. But wow, what am I grateful for right now? Even in this moment, do you know what I mean? Like it may sound a little bit odd, but in the moment when you're in the trenches, if you can make it a habit, because here's what I believe. I believe happiness is a habit that you can develop.
Yeah, absolutely.
And happiness is a way of thinking that you can develop. And I'm about to say something that's going to sound even more weirder. Happiness is not a feeling. Mm-mm. Let me even say something even more revolutionizing that I'm making up as I go along, because it makes sense to me. It actually based on some things, all the things that I've read too, but I really believe, and also my own experience, is that your brain doesn't really care whether you're happy or not. And this is going to sound crazy, but just bear with me. Yeah. Your brain doesn't care whether you are happy or sad. Its job is to, basically keep you surviving, making sure that you're fed, making sure that if you're hungry, you get fed, making sure you have to, bio breaks, keep yourself alive.
Yeah.
We as humans feel like, oh, we have to be happy. Well, what you have to be is know how your brain operates and how it thinks, and how the power of the words, power of your thoughts, power of how that has an impact in your life. If you're sad, if you're down, if you're not feeling quote unquote, happy, notice the thoughts that you're having about the situation. And the moment you say, oh, I'm sad about this, well, what are the thoughts you're saying, or thoughts that are going in your head that are making you sad? Oh, wow, that perhaps I could have done better, or that sucked, or what. Notice that it's really the thoughts you're having about the situation that's causing this feeling of unhappiness.
Yeah. And
it's really your thoughts. And so all happiness really is truly a signal from your brain that this is good. Oh, I feel good about this. This is exciting, or whatever. It's really the thoughts you're having about it, right? Because somebody who just gets given a set of keys for a brand new car, oh my God, I'm so excited about this, and then starts thinking, well, am I going to pay taxes on this? I don't like the color. And all of a sudden that happy moment turns into a shitty moment. So it's really your thoughts. And so if you want to know, okay, how are you happy, is creating the habit of thought that is actually positive versus negative, or, positive thinking in the future versus negative in the focus in the moment, if you will. So, all right, the moment that it just happened to me wasn't that great. It's just a moment. A situation is just a situation. It's the meaning that we put onto that moment or the situation that creates this sense of quote unquote happiness. Yeah. But really, it's about how you think, and it's creating a habit of thought that no matter what's happening in the moment, that you can be resilient to the situation. How can I solve it? What can I get through? Oh wow, I'm crying. It's gonna sound crazy, but thank goodness, because now my body can express it in this way. Cool. I can now move through this and move on. And what am I grateful for? Well, that I'm actually have emotions and that I care. Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's so, and, going back into this just idea of happiness not just being a feeling, but a habit. I 100% agree with that. And it is a skill that you have to practice, just like a workout, or, learning a new instrument, or, learning a new skill. And, I think one of the things that, people generally hear is, like practicing gratitude. Like those are kind of the standard easy ways to just slowly shift your mindset, right? Because it's almost forcing you to be like, all right, I'm not going to complain about this. This is the situation. get stuck in a different, but I'm also grateful that it's not this, and it, even if you're starting from that place of like, I want to complain, but
well, yeah, I want to complain, and you're like, well, what about it? But what, like examine it. And this is what you said earlier, that there was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. But as a comedian, that's what you do. You look at something that just happened that's not that great, and you go, well, what about it is not so great? What am I bothered by?
Yeah.
What am I, right? And so, and you have talked about this concept of NLP and neurolinguistics and all that business.
Yeah.
But ultimately, is understanding how your brain is thinking. What are the words? What are the things you're saying that is causing that emotion?
Yeah.
I have this thing I call you have to tear it up, which means understanding your thoughts, because your thoughts are creating emotions, and those emotions are creating, an attitude or an action based on those emotions. And so, listen, yeah, you know what? I don't feel that great, but what about it? Do I feel good? What is it I really want? What is it that this, is there a rule that perhaps that I have internally that I had no idea about this being? What's happening? Examine that moment versus just feeling it and go, oh, this is terrible. What about it is terrible? And then you go realize, well, this is not really actually so terrible, because it could have been worse. I have a friend of mine, no matter what would happen, she'd say, well, it could have been worse. And I'm like, damn, it can be worse than this. No, it could have been worse. So yeah, it is the word that the couple words that come to me now is sort of like emotional fitness, right? Like just getting to the, and it's not easy, people. It's not like, oh my God, you do it every day, you meditate. It's like, even if it's for a few minutes a day, it's just beginning to make those new neural connections around a situation and go, how else can I see this? Yeah, this is terrible, but okay, cool, I get it. And also really is, what am I thinking about the situation? What are the thoughts that I'm attaching to the situation that creates a certain level of meaning for me that is perhaps not so great? It makes me feel like a dork or a loser or whatever it is, whatever label you want to put it on. What are the thoughts that I'm having behind that? And then if you follow the train of thought, you'll get to the emotion, and the emotion is like, I don't like this emotion. And one of the things that I teach and I've learned that it's just phenomenal is I can change how I'm feeling. What? Shut up. I have that kind of control? Yes. I can change how I'm feeling. How? How the hell do I change this feeling right now? Because I'm feeling pretty shitty. Well, change your thinking. Well, how do I change my thinking? Well, what are you thinking about it? Okay, well, I can think differently. Yeah, you can think differently. So basically, the brain works on our thoughts, and that's really at the core of it. I know there's people like, I don't know, Joe Dispenza and a bunch of other people, whatever. Just a bunch of people talk about this. But when you create a habit of it, you see how it affects your life. And I've been using this technique for a while, and it's been absolutely super, super helpful.
So do you do something different from just, because, I know that like sometimes people don't tend to just think about like, what am I thinking and what am I feeling? Or how does, this thing is, I'm observing this thing. How is it making me feel? And I would say that, I am very in tune with things that trigger me right away. And I'm like literally having a dialogue as it's happening. But when everything's kind of smooth sailing, I'm not really thinking about like, how am I feeling right now? Until I like take a step back and be like, how am I feeling? Like I'm very aware and notice when my mood changes, but I also am not like asking myself every 5 minutes, how are you feeling right now? And right now? And right now? And so I'm also just wondering, I think other than, do you have any alternative things to like just practicing gratitude or keeping a gratitude journal that can also help? Because I think I'm just trying to see if there's any other ways that people can look at practicing like this emotional, like, do this happiness training, right? That isn't just like the standard, go write in a journal and talk about what you're grateful for. And
that's great. That's a great question. No, I think it begins. Okay, so emotional fitness, right? So you want happiness fitness, right? So there's emotional fitness business. It's just like everything else. One of the things about a habit, first of all, it starts very, very small. Like people, like for example, everybody always wants to either lose weight or gain whatever. And there's always that's an easy example to explain.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I want to lose weight. Okay, great. The very next moment that you said, I want to lose weight, I want to lose 10 pounds, whatever it is, the very next moment, something's presented to you. There's it's candy, a cake, a drink, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I'm going to start that tomorrow. So I'm going to have it now. That little moment of decision, you just started the process of a habit. A habit doesn't start over. It doesn't It takes years it starts very, very small and quickly, but it takes years to develop, and then you have to undo it.
Yeah.
So what I would say is absolutely make it part of your current practice. And so if you say, for example, well, okay, I want to, become, have more happiness or joy in my life. Okay. Small things.
Mm-hmm.
Small things. And small things would be, yeah, you can write it down and all this about the business, but in the moment, begin to sort of get into into the habit of, I don't have to ask myself every minute, because actually it's not effective. In fact, being grateful every day, or write it down every day, is not really even that effective. But at least on a weekly basis, you say, listen, I'm going to check in with myself. I'm going to check in and look back at the week and go, man, you know what did I do well? But most of us are not used to checking back in. And most of us are not used to that. So I have to create a habit of it. Put it in your calendar, right? Put yourself a reminder. Literally, so on my calendar, every morning and night, I have a specific reminder. Oh yeah, be grateful, or write it down. Whatever makes sense for you in your method. I say work it with your own schedule, work it with your own life. Is to say, look, at least every today's Wednesday. I usually say, I call it the Wednesday wind up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's crank it up, right? Because Monday was like Monday, Tuesday no meaning. I don't know what Tuesday exists because nobody even thinks of Tuesdays. Yeah. Wednesday's the hump day, and then it's only ready for the weekend. So wind it up. So on Wednesdays, like, what's fun today? What's something that I really want to think about today? So just wind it up. So find things that make sense for you in small increments. Next thing you know, it's just to form a habit. All we're trying to do is create a new form of thinking, however that works for you. Find I now usually tell people your own learning style. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I like to meditate, or I like to meditate with YouTube videos. Do that. I don't care what it is. Find something that makes sense for you, and then make that your thing, right? Because you're intimately engaged with your brain, so make it work for you. I'm more about, I don't have a prescription. It's just what works for you. What works best. Is it putting in the refrigerator, or putting it on the mirror, having a calendar invite? What works for you?
Yeah.
But my thing, but anything, it's make it small, doable, easy, done.
Yeah.
I can do that. You know what? I need to drink more water. Well, then have water around you. Like, okay, that's a small thing. Small steps for big results. It's small things, because to undo what's already there, you got to start from scratch. And I think it's just small steps.
I love that. And I'm thinking, so I was thinking the initial question that I was asking is like, you don't need to just do a gratitude journal, right? I mean, at some point it's kind of, be like, I'm grateful for these things. And yes, I get the point. And like, and I think that there's this piece of, having your own little happiness practices. Some people like to meditate, like you were mentioning. I was thinking, if you're scheduling something in, right, because it has to be a habit, it could be like, what is it that brings you joy? Is it like watching really trashy reality TV on a Sunday night, because it's your time to just like disconnect from the real world and like laugh at something else, or just like observe something that isn't really real, but it's funny to think about, like if that brings you joy, that could be your happiness practice. Or if it's like, oh, I kind of, like to get my nails done, that could be your happiness practice.
Yeah. And
you like going to comedy shows, that might be your happiness practice.
100%. But here's the thing is that, and I get that, because again, it's external, because it's a stimulant. And this is where I think the little bit of the challenge comes in, because people need an external stimulus for me to feel the feeling. Yeah. And my thing is like, don't wait for external stimulus. You can create it. But from that standpoint, I would say keep a running list. Even if have a thing on an app on your phone, wherever. Keep a running list of the things that make you happy and remember them. One of the things for me, I'm Latina, and one of the things for me is like, if I'm not feeling that great, put on some salsa merengue. There is no way I'm not gonna feel good after 2 minutes of that.
Yeah.
Because here's what we're trying to do. And by the way, this is the bit that I think it's really significant. When you're not feeling happy, what you're trying to do is change that state of being. Change the state. So again, a little thing that will change the state. Believe it or not, you're not feeling that great. I'm like, I'm not. You just tell like, oh my God, I'm about to go into that. I call it the dark side of the moon. I'm about to go in that place where I'm not feeling that great. Take a drink of water, stand up, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this feels good. I write it down somewhere so that when I'm not feeling it, I can actually go through my list and remind myself what are the things that trigger me to feel better. And they allow me to change the state momentarily so that I can move through the situation. Like I tell you, it's unbelievable. Not always watching TV, but definitely, music is it's a big state changer. Getting up and walking, physical activity is a huge state changer. So little things that you can do to adjust the state, because all we're trying to do is change the state, because if you change the state, you change the thinking, change the state, change your thinking. It could be listening to music, going for a walk. Here's another thing. To me, when I learned this, I was like, holy crap. Help someone else. Find a way to help someone else right then. Pick up a phone, call somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, right? A friend hasn't heard from you, call your freaking mom, right? Hopefully it's a good relationship.
Yeah.
Find someone else to help, and instantly you find you feel better. Because actually we feel happiness and truly blessed when we actually give to someone else, no matter how small that is. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture, but if you give of yourself to someone else, you help somebody solve a problem. Hell, if you're in the street, find an old person who needs to cross the street and you help them across. Like find someone that could use your help, and not in a oh, let me help you kind of way, but rather let me offer some help, some support.
Yeah.
That, believe it or not, is the relationship bit is absolutely revolutionizing to help you feel better, but also to increase your level of resiliency and happiness. And then you change your state because you get out of your head into the world in a way.
Yeah. So I think, and I know that we're starting to run out of time, or we should start wrapping up, but I think that there's two things that we want to take away from this, that we need to, we have to understand the things that can help us shift out of those unhappy states as much as possible, but we also need to really dig into what are the thoughts that are driving those feelings? Because like we could get out of it, but that's kind of just like let's sweep it under the rug, or like let's get us at least to a place where we're not like in this victim mode, right? But if we don't do anything, almost like have that dialogue with ourselves, like, okay, that made me upset, but what was it? Like, do that diagnosis afterwards and say, what was it that put me in that spot, and what can I do differently next time? Like, think that that's that huge piece. And if you're not going to just do like a check-in with like, and put that on your calendar and be like, hey, what's going on? You want to think about how you can do that, go through that situation differently. And that's something that I do on a nonstop basis, where it's like, okay, I went through this, I need to get myself back to happy, but what do I need to do now so that I don't continue to sit in that thing, right? So, Brooklyn, I lost your video.
And I'm actually sorry. Yes. No, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly what makes the difference. It's just changing the state, which again could be small little things you can do. It doesn't have to be super massive. Small changes of state will allow you to find happiness in the moment.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there's one more question that we want to finish with, just to close, because it's a question that comes from my wonderful community. But I thought that this would be a really great question for us to answer. And the question is, where did you get all your energy? There. Maybe I'll just start because I don't know if she's there now. But
no, you can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Yes, awesome. We have all kinds of. There you go. I had to change locations real quick. Girl, can you hear me?
Yeah. Where do you get your energy?
It is literally sometimes, to me, it's even impossible to figure out where I get my energy, but oftentimes it comes literally from the way that I'm thinking about something. It just comes down to how I feel and what I'm thinking about in the moment. That absolutely gets my, and also Latina. It's my culture, I think.
Yeah.
But definitely just the way my outlook of life is not, woe is me, but rather what can I do differently? And then people, right? So engaging with people, connecting with people, it's part of it, and the other part is sort of alone time, and that really helps me to improve my level of energy.
Yeah, I would also say that a lot of my energy comes from other people and everything around me. I think, there's a piece of me that I think that just naturally has a lot of energy. but it is very much fueled by the people who surround me. So if I'm not going through a really great time, like, you can see it, and I don't radiate it. But I think there is this place of constantly trying to make sure that that energy is preserved, and making sure that I'm doing things that make me happy, because if I do that, that's like my fuel, right? Like, doing things that I enjoy, because then I can put that out to other people, and then there's that feedback loop from other people who are liking whatever it is that I'm putting out, and that gives me even more energy, and makes me want to continue. So I think that it is very the sunshine, I think, too. Like, I feel like I'm a plant that just doesn't grow, but just takes the energy and like puts it out, and come on, give me a little bit more height, but whatever. So that's where I think everything comes from. But
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. No, yeah.
Anyways,
I love it.
Absolutely. Well, this was an amazing conversation, and I hope that those of you who are wondering why happiness is so important, you've got your two biggest advocates here, and there's, it takes some work to get to that true state, but it's not just, and it's not always there 100% of the time, but it is something that you have to practice. And Brooklyn, thank you so much for being here today. And I'm so happy that we got to have this conversation, and we had like 3 scene changes in the whole thing. It was awesome. And yeah, we'll continue to stay in touch. But if any of you guys have any questions, obviously you've got all of our information in the comments or in the descriptions, and feel free to reach out if you need that little dose of energy, because we've got a lot to give. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.